Okay, we'll go back to item 9, which is the Community Facilities Rebuild Programme. Thank you, Darren. You're very patient. So we have a report on various community facilities, either in build, going to be built, have been built, which is very useful. Thank you. Do you have any comments, or are you happy to just throw it open?
I'll just do a quick, it's the first time this report's come to this committee, so just to set the scene very, very briefly, a minute or less. This is only reporting on a program of work which started five to 6 years ago. It's the Community Facilities Earthquake Rebuild Program. As I've indicated now, it's tail end. It only represents around 15% of the current workload I do now in BAU world, but I thought it's important to continue to just provide some visibility on where that program is at. So the report itself indicates the work we've done over those 5 or 6 years, the facilities we've fixed and rebuilt across the city, and it just provides a little bit of financial information around the remaining projects, of which there really are only a handful left to go in the program. So I'll take it as read if there's any questions.
Pauline.
Look, it's more of an observation. I just want to point out to councillors on page 61, and don't ask me why this has happened, but that picture is not the St Albans Community Centre.
Oh, okay.
I mean, that looks like a new art gallery or something like that. There's, in fact, the St Albans Community Centre had to reduce its scope by 350,000, which it's done successfully, and I think that's probably been quite a good exercise. And so the timeline for that centre is now probably for completion at the end of 2020. It's been unfortunate that the transitional one was removed so early. Good for Shirley, but sad for the St Albans Residents Association, who were managing that, who are now in a temporary for so long. There's also a correction in the text there. A temporary facility has been located on the site, so that should be updated to say there's... Sure. We'll just leave that out now, there's nothing...
That artist's render, I believe, was provided to the board, well, it should have been, earlier this week. That is the latest impression of said community centre.
It's the Dallington Community Centre.
No, that's the one we're on.
This picture here...
Yes.
...is not the St Albans Community Centre.
Yes, it is.
It is too. Well, it's certainly not going to be that flash, I'm afraid.
Oh, that is.
Well, from what Darren is saying, this is the current design.
Yeah, that is what the artist, working in detailed design now, has rendered in 3D. That's the Colombo Street entrance. As you know, there's a separate render which was provided to the board, looking from Caledonian Road with the car parking, etc. That is, it's $2.5 million. It's.
Have you seen that picture, Mike? Have you seen that before?
No, but Derek just said it's just been...
I believe it was...
It sort of looks similar to the old one with a few changes.
Yeah.
It should have been with the board.
Yeah, this is the first one.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's laminated. That's laminated timber. It's not going to look like flash like that.
You'll see that at the board. Okay,
Thank
I've got Phil and then Aaron.
Thanks, Darren. In the projects delivered, you've got the Addington Water Station on page 76. I'm not sure if that, for example, that went to the correct community board. That'd be the Sprayed and Cashmere one. There's a typo underneath it.
Okay.
But yeah, can you let me know? Well, has that happened yet?
Page 70.
Our page 75. Sorry.
The water tower. Yeah, that was successfully. That's over a year ago now. That project was completed and done. So that's been done. There was a whole article around the colour scheme for it. They referenced some early historical photos in terms of what colour it was when it was built, etc. So that was done. Yeah, done well over a year ago now.
So did that information go to the community board?
Around its completion, or
yeah,
that's a very good question. Sorry, I don't know.
I don't know that it did, and I'm just wondering, why I noticed that is that I see Rising Home is on track.
It is,
and it is currently in a new board area, a different board area, and you'll be aware that previously the Sprayed and Cashmere board had a lot of involvement with Rising Home. So my point really is to ask that when that is finished,
yes,
and opened, that the Sprayed and Cashmere board also be involved.
Sure, my team are working, I think, with a community board at the moment around the time frame and the ceremony and who's involved, etc., etc. The homestead, that is, the hall's a little way behind, but the homestead and community centre.
Great. So a lot of us will be involved. It's an important building. Yeah, great. Thanks, Darren.
Okay, I've got Aaron, then Yanni, then Andrew.
Yeah, it's just a question on the whole report, though I will mention the ghost tree on Colombo Street's a good one.
Yes.
That'll be an attraction.
That was free.
That's free. Just on this report, it'd be good if on each of the projects, some of them it's mentioned, is the total project cost.
Yeah, hindsight, I'll do that next time.
Yeah, if we just have a little column that on all of them it just has that, and then the amounts spent, because you're always trying to work out, is that in this year, is that the total amount?
Yeah,
and some it is and some it isn't.
I'll bring next time the total project budget. Yep.
Yanni?
How the Opawa library's going. Just wanted to see whether it requires any contingency, given that it's got quite a low budget for the site. And also, at a general level, just wanted to understand if you're applying a how we're applying a resilience and sustainability lens over our capital projects to ensure, like, in future earthquake events, they're resilient.
First question, the project itself is good. We've just awarded the contract for the builder, so it's design and build. As you're aware, we had a limited budget, so we've ended up with a pretty elegant solution and through a design and build approach. So that work's getting underway now, detailing that. I think the joint working group have been kept up to speed. We've got representatives of the community and the community board and staff involved in determining that project. So it's going well. It's still forecasting to be delivered within the budget that we had available, which the budget was set around the total sum insured at the time. As were a lot of these projects, we started work early in the piece. It was the total sum insured which formed the basis of the budget. If at any point through that process, now that we've got an approved concept which we're detailing, we require additional funding for unforeseen items, then there is a management reserve which is available for that. I think Sarah had introduced some queries. I talked to her around the bicycle stands or the type of bicycle stands which we have, and are they fit for purpose. But at the moment, I don't intend that we're going to require any additional funding for that project. The resiliency and the sustainability items in that building, sorry, I don't have that detail to hand, but I'm happy to tell you about that.
Working group, like the resiliency was cut because the budget couldn't pay for it, and then you hear the insurance discussions we're having around future insurability, and it kind of seems sensible that we would actually be building resilience in when we're doing these buildings at the start, because it's cheaper than worrying about getting insurance in the future.
Arguably, I guess in terms of its use dictating the degree to which we pursue that spectrum of resiliency and not sustainability, but resiliency. It has taken account, for me, the biggest issue outside of seismic would be its aspect in relation to the river, climate change, sea level rise, tidal inundation, so we've taken all of that into account. It will be resilient in terms of climate change. In terms of earthquake stuff, I think it's a slab-on-grade building, so it's going to be probably a TC3 riprap solution, lightweight timber cladding. The sustainability items, I guess, will be meeting code around energy efficiency. We work internally with our team that we have here. Alistair and myself are in contact with the New Zealand Green Building Council around what some of those measures might be. I haven't got the details on that building.
Okay, thank you. I have Andrew.
Thank you. Two questions. First of which relates to the Thomas Edmunds Band Rotunda on page 67.
Yes.
Have we made a decision as yet what the future use of this building might be? Because as we're rebuilding, depending on future use, there might be considerations around things that we would do as we rebuild in line with future use? Yeah,
that's right. And that, you'll note, Andrew, there's a number of the heritage buildings still on hold pending future use solutions. I think the council actually resolved to box on and just build this thing. There was some discussion around future use, and one of those, so it's progressing. It's progressing right now. We're in detailed design. The blinds, I think, was the one thing which we still were yet to resolve. There was a discussion around whether between the new columns there was the ability to have a weatherproof pull-down sort of enclosure that had some heritage, that was okay from a heritage perspective, but gave it the ability to be used as a venue. So I guess to answer the question, no, I don't know what it will be used for, but the intention was it would be returned as a band rotunda.
So we're not going out with any EOI process or the like to determine future use, either before we build or as we build, to take advantage of synergies that might present themselves by knowing what we're going to use this thing for as we build it?
I completely understand what you're saying. I can't answer that one as just with my builder's hat on there. I'll need to probably get some advice from our leasing team or our heritage team around what that might be.
Yeah, I think it would be good, as we have with other similar buildings, to know what the future's use. I mean, even the question about the blinds and whether or not we would need or want those,
yes.
It really depends what you're going to use this building for as to whether you would put the blinds on or not. If there was going to be a commercial use of it, you would expect that including the chosen commercial operator in the final stages of any build and fit out would be the best way to get to a sensible outcome.
Sorry, you're ringing a bell now. It can't be used for commercial operations because it's not going to have a basement, so you'd need to, it's essentially going to be the structure. The previous, I think it was at the restaurant that operated out of there, the brasserie, had a small basement area, which under modern building code, we've explored those. You can't, there's accessibility issues around provision of accessible toilets and a whole bunch of other things. So to all intents, it will be a band rotunda. Is there a piece of work to explore other options? I don't know, but I'll find out.
Okay. I mean, I guess what I'm saying is logically there would be before we start building.
Yeah, and that's the case with everything else in the heritage program that's still to come.
Indeed. So, associated question, but different building. Projects still to be delivered and on hold for various reasons.
Yes.
One of which is to determine future use. So if I think of Banks Peninsula buildings.
Yes.
We've got Donald Street Stables, Coronation Library and Kukapa Hostel, all of which are on hold because we're currently going through that EOI process to determine future use. You would expect to see Akaroa U Cottage on that list as well, and it's not there. So I was quite surprised to see that one, which is also part of the same process, not included on the same list. Is there a reason for that, or has it just been missed off?
I don't think it's been missed off. A lot of this program was prioritised by the previous council in terms of what they were going to allocate as priorities. So that's, to the best of my knowledge, never been part of the earthquake repair program. It may be being addressed. There's still a whole lot of, and this is some of the other work I do as well, there is a number of other heritage, what I'd call business as usual projects that probably, it may be part of that, but again, I'm happy to go and ask the team as for a status.
That's all right, I can take that offline, that's no problem. Thank you.
Just on U Cottage.
Oh, you,
I can just, well, I only know it because it sits in the heritage portfolio. It's just U Cottage is having emergency repair work done on it currently. It's been we've put some costs together with the heritage team from Parks, and we're doing some work expending the heritage emergency repair budget for earthquake prone buildings. So that's already underway, and that work is underway. Why it's not included is because it's not in a state that we can include it in that list, which Russell Wedge is managing with the community boards as to what the future use of those particular buildings are. So he's got an expression of interest that's out with community buildings, and that's why it's not included currently. So.
Okay, but the other three buildings that are in that process are included in the list. I'm guessing that that's because these are earthquake-related repairs, whereas U Cottage is not earthquake-related.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, that's fine. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's all right. Glenn and Tim.
Darren, what would be your... Right, Mike. What would be your worst case conservative timeframe for finishing the whole program? So you've said in 4.3 most of it at the end of this financial year. But
yeah, that's a very good question. I'd like to finish it and have it done sooner rather than later. There's the ones that Andrew's alluded to still to be determined. So until we've got a community network plan, I think John Philsell's team are looking at that. There's a couple caught up in that around the Centennial Hall and the Coronation Hall. South Library, I'm talking to Carolyn and the libraries unit around when they would look to be wanting to shut that down for a period of time. We've got, I think, $8 million worth of repair and strengthening work to be done down at South Library. The majority of the program, to answer your question, I think will be tie a bow on it done in the next financial year. So by the end of next financial year, we should, for the majority of this stuff, have
not this June, July, but then...
Sorry, no.
Yep. Fantastic.
Tim?
Thank you. Just going back to the band rotunda, it would be really good for whether it's our heritage team or yourself or whoever to talk with the industry, because generally band rotundas sit and gather dust.
Yes.
This one's in a fantastic spot close to the Margaret Mahy playground. We've done the whole area up. It's now a new area basically if you walk through there, and it would be such a shame to have this redone as it was and never used, or used hardly ever. So with regards to, you know, like bands now using wireless for their keyboards and their sound desks, etc. It would be really good to sit down with our industry, our local industry, who will be the ones using it, or called upon to support those groups. Whether it's even storytelling, you know, so many people use wireless or whatever now. It would be a real shame to miss that, because I totally understand why you're looking at, you know, shading, etc. Absolutely understand that, but there's no mention of that at all.
Oh, I completely agree. I was down there yesterday having a look. It's a fantastic
It
spot.
is, it's new.
And in fact, we've just done a piece of work. We've just reopened up public access down off Manchester Street right to the riverfront now, so you can walk in and around the area. It's all been compacted and opened up. I take what you're saying. I think they obviously need to do a bit more there.
Because back in the day, you know, we did gigs there which totally filled the whole area, which was then kind of, you know, needed attention. Filled the road, which obviously caused issues. But it was absolutely fantastic, but we had to generate and, you know, we had to do everything. But if it was there, obviously there's no road there now, so it's been purpose-built. So, yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions? Jerry.
Only one question regarding to the heritage building, Chalkboard Lodge.
Yes.
This one, okay? Yeah, because my understanding, this one take a long time for the investigative work. But you mentioned all those detailed scope and documentation have been ready at the end of the February. Whether now it's ready or not yet.
Yeah, I believe...
I'm concerned it's taken several years, you know, this one.
Yes, it has, and we're saying there we're expecting a contractor to be on site. I think we might even be in the market for a builder at the moment. We're expecting to be on site June this year, so March now, April, May, June, we'll be on site getting underway with the work.
But regarding consent, who is a staff will apply for consent or not?
Oh, my team do that, so they employ specialist heritage architects and engineers, and there's quite a bit of toing and froing, for want of a better word, with our consenting people and our heritage team to ensure that all the parties are satisfied that before we start touching this building, we're going to get it right.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that, because we're spending a lot of money on these, especially small ones, and if we don't know what they're going to be used for, you know, you have to ask the question why.
This one, I believe the choke wall is going back into, it's been agreed it's residential. It was residential before the earthquakes, and I think it's going to have a residential custodian, someone actually, a family living in there.
Okay, any other questions? Right, thanks Darren.
Thank you
very much.
Cheers.
So got a resolution to receive the information in the report. Moved Jimmy, seconded Jamie. Any debate? I'll put the motion. All in favour say aye. Aye, against, that's carried.